28-year-old Fanny Kaplan, who shot Lenin, is a mysterious person, and still not everyone believes the official version that it was she who wounded the leader of the world proletariat. Even more mysterious and curious is her hasty execution, which took place on the territory of the Kremlin. One gets the impression that they were in a hurry to put the death sentence against the 28-year-old half-blind socialist revolutionary into effect as soon as possible. So what is known about this strange and terrible execution that took place directly in the Kremlin? Fanny Kaplan, born Fega Reutblatt, had previously participated in a terrorist attack, and at that time she was only 16. In 1906, an assassination attempt was being prepared in Kyiv on the life of the local Governor General Sukhomlinov. The performer was to be Viktor Garsky, with whom Kaplan was in a relationship at that moment. An accidental explosion occurred in the hotel room where they were staying and making a bomb. Garsky himself was able to escape, but the girl was wounded in the head, and shrapnel also hit her arms and legs, thanks to which they were able to detain her. It was then that she almost completely lost her sight and partially lost her hearing. Fanny was then sentenced to death, but later, due to her very young age, the sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. Cellmates recalled that she was practically blind and could hardly distinguish the silhouettes of people. She had to use a magnifying glass. However, the prison doctor who examined her was reassuring her pupils supposedly react to light, which means her vision can be restored. In 1917, after the February Revolution, Kaplan was granted an amnesty and moved to Moscow. Attempt on Lenin. In 1918, when the assassination attempt on Lenin occurred, Fanny saw better, and, oddly enough, Vladimir Ilyich's younger brother, Dmitry Ulyanov, contributed to this. The fact is that for some time Kaplan was his mistress. They met in Crimea, where Kaplan went after a short stay in Moscow. It was Lenin's brother who subsequently obtained a referral for her to a good Kharkiv clinic, where she underwent an operation that partially restored her vision. The rebellion of the socialist revolutionaries in Moscow was suppressed, and the murder of Lenin became Fanny Kaplan's only chance to continue the fight against the Bolsheviks. How she learned that Lenin would appear at a workers' meeting in the courtyard of the Mikkelsen plant is difficult to say, as well as to answer the questions about who entrusted her with this assassination attempt and who, besides her, participated in it. She had poor eyesight, although she had undergone treatment, which may explain her miss, although she shot from a very close range. The girl was immediately captured and shot 3 days later without trial. After that, her body was doused with gasoline and burned. On the afternoon of August 30, 1918, Vladimir Lenin spoke at a workers' rally at the Mikkelsen plant in Moscow. He arrived at the enterprise without security, and he also did not have any weapons. After the event, at the exit from the factory, where a large group of people had gathered, someone from the crowd shot the leader several times, and from a fairly close distance. 2 bullets hit Lenin, and a factory worker was also wounded by a random bullet. According to the official version, Kaplan fired the shots. Although, apart from her confession, there was no other evidence of this, there were no witnesses, and she had no weapons. The opinion about Kaplan was unequivocal. It was expressed by N. Bukharin in the Pravda newspaper on September 1, 1918, a narrow-minded, fanatical petty bourgeois who, perhaps, sincerely believes that Lenin ruined Russia, who, perhaps, really does not understand that she was willed by the hand of those who drive along the Fifth Alley in New York after business conversations on the street of bankers, Wall Street. It becomes a shame for these small people, small and insignificant, like road dust. Lenin fell, and when he came to his senses he asked, "Has he been caught?" mentioning the criminal in the masculine gender. However, immediately after the assassination attempt, it was the woman, Fanny Kaplan, who was detained at a bus stop in the area of B. Serpukovskaya Street. She had a Browning and money with her. Further, the data of historians differ. So, according to the worker with the unremarkable surname Ivanov who detained her, the young woman immediately admitted that it was she who shot at Lenin. According to other sources, Kaplan was detained directly by the assistant military commissar of the infantry regiment, Betulin, and she told him that it was not she who attempted to assassinate Lenin. However, later, according to this version, Kaplan changed her testimony, nevertheless taking the blame upon herself. Without trial or investigation. For 2 days after her arrest, Fanny was interrogated, and Yakov Sverdlov personally asked her questions. The interrogations lasted almost without interruption. Kaplan did not agree to sign her testimony, but in the end she did it. As a result, the protocol indicated that she confessed to the assassination attempt. By the way, after her arrest, Kaplan was first taken to the Lubyanka, but was soon transported to the Grand Kremlin Palace, where she was kept in a small basement room. The prisoner was guarded by Latvian riflemen. Sverdlov's office was nearby. Already on September 3rd, that is, just 4 days after the assassination attempt, without any court hearings, a decision was made to execute Kaplan. The sentence was immediately carried out by the Kremlin commandant Malkov, although according to his position he was not endowed with such powers. Latvian riflemen helped Malkov. It is known that Yakov Sverdlov personally gave him instructions on the process of shooting a woman. The Browning used in the shooting was never found. I had to advertise in Izvestia. After which a certain worker Kuznetsov brought a pistol, saying that he'd picked it up at the scene of the assassination attempt and took it with him as an expensive relic. The Browning had a 7-shooter, 4 cartridges remained in the magazine, and 4 cartridges were found at the scene of the assassination. Total, 8. So someone else was shooting? The riddle was easily resolved. 7 cartridges were in the magazine. Another one had already been chambered. The investigation figured this out pretty quickly. By the way, talk that one of the bullets later removed from Lenin's body was of a different caliber than Browning bullets is not supported by anything. The same caliber 7.65. Moreover, already in the 1990s, a ballistic examination was carried out, which showed that the bullets removed from Lenin's body were fired from this particular pistol. Let us also add that the bullets were not poisoned, as has been claimed for many years. And what kind of curare could withstand a temperature of powder gases of 2,500 degrees in the barrel during a shot? Mysterious execution. Despite popular rumors about the special solemnity of Kaplan's execution, in reality everything was simple. In the courtyard of the 9th building, near the garages, they put her in a car, started the engine, and on the sly Malkov shot her in the back of the head, while the girl was held tightly by Latvian riflemen. According to other sources, it was not Malkov, but the Latvians who carried out the sentence. If you believe the memoirs of the proletarian poet Demyan Bedny, who lived on the territory of the Kremlin and became an accidental witness to Kaplan's execution, the girl's corpse after her death was wrapped in a tarpaulin and burned in a barrel. True, the poet himself, they say, at some point could not stand this spectacle and fainted. They did not officially bury the woman, so that later counter-revolutionaries could not come to Kaplan's grave and so that the burial would not become a place of worship for the enemies of Lenin and the revolution. In addition, if there is no body, then there are no unnecessary questions about the circumstances of the execution. It is unknown where her ashes were distributed. It is believed that he was secretly buried somewhere in the city. Supporters of the idea that Lenin was shot not by a visually impaired sick woman, but by one of her accomplices or people not connected with her at all, believe that it was no coincidence that she was executed so hastily and so secretly. And this matter had to be completed precisely before Lenin recovered. There are many possible reasons for this. For example, a version has been put forward that it was Sverdlov who did not want a thorough investigation of the case and that he, as a potential successor and prominent competitor of Lenin, could even be the organizer of this assassination attempt. Therefore, the official version he presented was as follows: Kaplan shot Lenin on behalf of the right-wing socialist revolutionaries, led, in turn, by the British and French. Other historians name Leon Trotsky or Joseph Stalin as the orderer of the assassination attempt, which hypothetically could also have been the case, since both of them were aiming for the position of leader of the proletariat. At the same time, after the incident, other rumors circulated in Soviet society for a long time. For example, that good grandfather Lenin secretly pardoned Kaplan and she was allowed to leave the country under a different name. However, in any case, in the interrogation protocols of Fanny Kaplan there is still a signed confession that she shot at Lenin, that this idea belonged to her, and that she had been preparing for the assassination for a long time and carefully. Also, her signature is under the words "I have done my duty and will die with valor." According to one version, the assassination attempt was staged by the Bolsheviks themselves. This made it possible to unleash bloody terror against the socialist revolutionaries and strengthen their own power. Be that as it may, the wounds undermined Lenin's health and caused a serious illness, which became the reason for his departure from power and death. Already in our time, the Prosecutor General's office of the Russian Federation reviewed the case and came to the conclusion it was Kaplan who shot Lenin. This is what we should be thinking about now, rather than considering the case of the assassination attempt on Lenin as some kind of amusing historical detective story. It should be viewed not as a separate plot, but as a fragment of a broad historical canvas. Its main content is the confrontation between anti-Bolshevik forces and the growing dictatorship, as well as the internal struggle in the Bolshevik Party and its unleashing of the Red Terror. Only this is no longer a detective story, but a colossal historical tragedy that we must not forget about even a century later. There are many mysterious circumstances, rumors and legends associated with Lenin's biography. Are all of them fiction or, on the contrary, there is no smoke without fire?